A little classical music appropriate to a classic racing circuit. Here at Road America, we've had a morning rain shower, our brats and local sweet corn. We are ready for the second and final round of qualifying for round 12 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series, the Grand Prix of Road America. We have clouds overhead, but a strong breeze blowing and the sun peeking through. It appears we will remain free of the rain showers that were predicted for this second and final round of qualifying to set the grid for Sunday's race. Let's get down to the pit lane and set the stage with Derek Daly.
And Bob, all I can say is welcome to a track I just love. From the first time I raced here, the feeling is just the same. And it might be the sheer speed, almost 190 miles an hour down some of these long straights. But also, it could well be the carousel. I stood out there this morning to look at cars going through that 180-degree corner. It was just awesome to see their performance. Now, yesterday's qualifying session was actually a bit like a wet-dry session where you had to time your run to perfection to coincide with the checkered flag coming out. In the last minute, the pole position changed 6 different times as drivers went by. And of course, Junqueira thought he had it until D'Amata was the last man through. And as you saw from Junqueira and his engineer Bill Pappas earlier on, it just temporarily anyway sucked the wind right out of their sails. Now, there were plenty more stories in qualifying yesterday. With more on some of those, let's go down to Calvin Fish. Calvin?
Double D, yesterday's qualifying session played out a scenario we've seen all too often this year, where Kenny Brack and the number 12 target car were the fastest team in morning practice session, but totally unable to back it up in qualifying. They dropped all the way to 13th spot. Now, this has been a concern for the team all season long. In fact, in this morning practice session, the team simulated a qualifying run to try and address this situation. Now, as Kenny qualified 13th, the man even in more trouble was Patrick Carpentier. He's won 2 of the last 3 races, but electrical problems yesterday left him stranded on course. He's also struggling for speed anyway. He tried Tagliani's setup, didn't like it, gave him too much understeer. Tags was fast this morning, so they're going to see what happens this afternoon. And later in the show, we'll bring you up to speed on Jimmy Vasser's struggles in the Shell car this season. But there's one man who's certainly been in the wars recently. For more on that, let's go back up to Bob.
All right, thank you, Calvin. We're talking about Adrian Fernandez. Back in the car this weekend. 3 weeks ago, this was the crash in Vancouver in which Fernandez cracked his pelvis, knocking him out of last week's race at Mid-Ohio. You see the number 4 on the tail of Bruno Junqueira's car? This is where the nose of that car went, through the side pod and into the hip of Adrian Fernandez, leaving an ugly bruise as well as a cracked pelvis. Yesterday, 4th fastest in first round qualifying, not including the eons it took him to get in and out of the car with those bad hips. He constantly has to stretch to keep himself loose, but he says that when he's in the car, he feels better than when he's out of it. For more on Adrian Fernandez and his return to the Champ Cars, here's Scott Pruitt.
Talking about getting back on the horse that bucked you off. Well, actually, the horse that bucked you off, kicked you, ran over you. Adrian Fernandez was sitting at home last week at Mid-Ohio. Barely gets over to get in his race car. Talk about a guy that's going through some serious pain. He actually says, you know, when I get in the car, I feel better than when I'm out of the car. Being there myself, I think it's all the adrenaline you have floating through your body that makes you feel better when you're in the car. Another guy that had a wild weekend so far, Tony Kanaan, going into turn 1, almost 200 miles an hour. Their rear wing comes off. The brace breaks. Has a big off in turn 1. Has to actually come back, get into his backup car, and go right back out and do it all again. Talk about these drivers being crazy, foolish, having no mind whatsoever, brave, whatever you want to call it. Drivers are certainly a breed of their own. And oh, by the way, Tony was P1 at the time. Bob?
Thank you, Scott. There is Tony Kanaan getting set, hoping to hoist himself up the grid. He is currently 18th and dead last. Lots more to come from Road America. Speed Channel coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. By Burger King, America's favorite burger. BK, you've got it. And by Toyota, get the feeling. Welcome back to Road America. There's Mike Mancuso in the Klein Tools Air Show Extra 100. Dazzling the fans once again this weekend here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And we're glad to see that the skies are blue enough that he can put on his show. Here's a look at the rest of our coverage this weekend. The Trans Am for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup races later today. You'll see that race tomorrow, Sunday, at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. The Toyota Atlantic Series races tomorrow. That race coming your way at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then our live coverage of the Grand Prix of Road America, the pre-race show at 2:30 p.m. The race itself flagging off shortly after 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, only here on Speed Channel. Welcome back live to Road America. I'm Bob Varsha along with Tommy Kendall. Tommy, we thought it was going to be raining today, so yesterday's first round qualifying gave us a little bit of everything.
And I tell you what, when I'm at Elkhart Lake, I'm like Derek Daly, whether I'm driving or watching, I just can't wipe the smile off my face. And yesterday's session had it all for me. The magnificent track goes a long ways to explaining it, but also the placement of the timing line down in turn 14 added to a lot of the drama. Not only does it allow you to finish a lap and get into the pits, it also, if you game it right, there's the line right across there. It's right on the exit. It allows you to alter your driving style to capitalize on that. And Dario Franchitti did it probably better than anyone. What you do is at the end of your fast lap, you end up throwing away the exit of that corner. Now this is kind of on a normal lap. You might get out over the curve a little bit, but you still need to get up the straightaway well. When you're coming into the tail end of your lap, you just bomb it, you brake late, you turn in early, you just try to make sure your transponder gets across that line. And look at that, it used up every inch of road. That put him in P3 on the grid.
Now let's take a look at the balance of this 14-turn, 4-mile legendary loop in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
And the cars almost touched 200 miles an hour 3 different times. Heading into turn 1, that's where Tony had his big incident. Down into turn 5, I went out there this morning, and that is one of the more visceral experiences, seeing those cars 17,000 RPMs going all the way to the 2 marker. Then you get around through the twisty part, and then you open it up again through the kink. Flat out, a little bit easier with the lower boost this year. The guys were able to go flat even with the used tires, then down into Canada Corner up to turn 14. And so you have the really fast first part of the lap. The second half puts more of a premium on handling.
Now let's take a lap with yesterday's provisional pole sitter.
Well, now I'm going to shut my pie hole because my voice cannot compete with a 17,000 RPM Toyota. Listen to this thing scream and how long they're at the very, very high revs. Just sit back and enjoy. This is the pole lap.
A lap at Road America with a present master of a lap at 110% effort. Now here's a curious thing. Look at the fastest trap speeds from yesterday's first qualifying session. Note the fast guy, Alex Tagliani in his Ford-powered Reynard for the Foresight team at over a $1.95. The slowest man of the 18 in the field, the provisional pole sitter, Cristiano Damata, who could barely go 189 on the fast parts of the racetrack. Scott Pruitt, what's going on there?
Pretty interesting, huh? In fact, Tag's sitting right here behind me. His car's right here, 195 miles an hour. Not the fastest guy overall. Fastest guy on the straight, but not overall. The thing you have to remember here, and the interesting part about this is the fact Cristiano D'Amata was the slowest guy on the straight. They're running more downforce. There's a lot of turns that ties this track together. You have to get on the straights well. You have to get through the turns fast. Cristiano did that. They took the play. Let's go for a little more downforce than less downforce. And as you can see, it's paid off so far. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Scott. Now we've got a breaking story. Derek Daly is with Adrian Fernandez.
Indeed, Bob, down in the Kart Sports Medicine Center, this is Bud Tice, former athletic trainer for the Buffalo Bills. Do you hear me?
All right, we've lost Derek's microphone, I'm sorry to say. There is Fernandez being worked on by the athletic staff. And Tommy, if there were ever an instance of athletic effort, watching the drivers work this place tells you that these guys truly are athletes.
Well, and the word from Adrian this morning was that he is too sore to drive, but the car is too good. He can't let himself not get in it. And so I've been through this. When I came back in '92, I was on crutches, and it's one of these things where it's just mind over matter, and you want to get back in the car. It looks odd, but the weird thing about it, he wouldn't be in the car unless he felt he could do the job and do it safely, and obviously the performance shows that, but there's a lot of just strength that goes into pulling this off.
I guess calling that a breaking story was a bit of a bad pun. I apologize for that, but it's great that the drivers have these sorts of medical services available to them. We'll be back to Road America. Speed Channel is your home for the Formula One World Driving Championship. It's an all-Ferrari front row Barrichello over Michael Schumacher at the Hungaroring. Check out our live coverage of the race tomorrow, beginning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, with an encore presentation Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, only on Speed Channel. Welcome back to Road America. Fluffy white clouds overhead. We await the start of qualifying. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of the morning practice. It was slightly damp when provisional pole sitter Cristiano D'Amata tested the limits of adhesion. Bruno Junqueira, second quick in qualifying. Still damp down in Canada Corner, where he got it off into the kitty litter, but managed to drive it out, Tommy.
Yeah, and that's one of the places that dries the slowest because of the tree cover from the kink onto Canada Corner.
Paul Tracy got through Canada, got up under the Billy Mitchell Bridge, then got off to driver's right, giving the corner workers a bit of a scare.
That was only a minor off compared to a couple years ago. A couple years ago in the Penske car, he almost got into a camper, if you recall. So that's just probably, Paul probably came in and said, yeah, I got it a little bit off in the grass.
Now watch and listen to this. Mario Dominguez, same corner.
Oof, and that is right where Arndt Meyer almost got out of the park a few years ago. They put a gravel trap and some big tire barriers in here to stop him, which did their job quite well. Some of those stacks of tires flew over and knocked some fire extinguishers back to the safety fence that lines the parking lot.
It's a testament to the structural integrity of these cars and that Hans device, the head and neck safety device attached to his helmet, that Mario Dominguez will be in today's second session. Here's a look at the morning practice times. Alex Tagliani able to turn that top speed into the top time.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they didn't maybe put more downforce on the car. It wouldn't surprise me if their trap speeds were down a little with the lap time up.
Kenny Brack, last year's pole sitter, was the quickest man in yesterday's morning practice, but only 13th in qualifying after a contretemps with officials over whether he got a little too aggressive down there around the timing wire in turn 14. Now, at the end of yesterday's session, Jimmy Vasser, who is not in the top 10 in qualifying, tried just a little too hard in Canada Corner.
Yeah, there's a slick spot there, and it looks like the traction control was kicking in, but not quite enough to keep the car from spinning around. Harmless in terms of the effect on the car, but really kind of sums up how this part of the season's gone for Jimmy.
He'll be looking for better today. Calvin Fish is with him.
Well, JV, this season has been a bit of a struggle, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, you started off the season with a pole and a podium at Long Beach, but since that time, the speed doesn't seem to be there. I understand you're trying to go back to basics with the setup.
Yeah, you know, with the lack of testing, it's hard to move things along, and certainly we haven't been keeping pace with the rest of the field with the car. And we tested awfully quick at the beginning of the season. We started the season with both cars real quick, and Michelle and I just been struggling to get the speed out of the car. So, there's so much involved in the setup. It's hard to stay on top of working hard here to get back on track.
At Mid-Ohio, you said the car felt good. You just couldn't understand that the lap time wasn't there. Is it a balance issue? Is it a lack of grip? Have you been able to pinpoint where the issues are?
Well, the car has just a slight bit of understeer in the mid corner on the slow to medium speed corners, and it's just not tracking, and we're leading the front of the car around. We're having to wait to get on the power, but it's not a horrible amount. So the balance is, it's not bad. It's just kind of an overall rolling grip that predominantly needs to go to the front.
All right, JV, have a good session today.
Thanks.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. There you see Tony Kanaan on track. The first car out after an absolutely desperate day yesterday. The big crash in the morning practice, and then problems in the qualifying session that limited him to just 3 laps, stone last in the field.
And it's almost been painful to watch Tony Kanaan's season unravel. Had such high expectations. I tabbed him as one of the 3 guys to be a breakthrough guy this year, and they just have not had any luck whatsoever, and it's finally let the air out of his balloon.
He posts the first time of the afternoon. There's another guy who is not doing as well as expected, Kenny Brack. Pole a year ago, but a tough qualifying session yesterday. We'll be back to talk more.
They race with the most sophisticated engines on the most demanding circuits around the world, which is why they drive the most advanced tires. Bridgestone, built to perform, proven to deliver, by a brand that's been passionate about quality tires for over 70 years, on and off track. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
Welcome back to Road America on a big Speed Channel weekend. Here's a look at the championship points coming in. A point for provisional pole yesterday brings Cristiano D'Amata to 123. 28 now ahead of new second place man Patrick Carpentier, winner of 2 of the last 3 races in the FedEx Championship. Bruno Junqueira is now 3rd. Dario Franchitti dropped from 2nd to 4th last week in Mid-Ohio. And Michel Jourdain Jr. from Team Rahal remains in 5th spot, having scored points in the first 11 rounds of the series. First guy to do that since Al Unser Jr. did it en route to the championship way back in the early 90s. There's a look at 9th through 16th, and there is Kenny Brack, considered to be a title favorite when he moved over to the all-conquering Target Chip Ganassi racing team this year, but it just hasn't worked out for him.
And they're as puzzled by it as we are, as we touched on, Calvin touched on in the Open. And it's one of those things where that's kind of counter to how Chip Ganassi has done things. He's usually brought young guys in unproven, went with supposedly a slam dunk, and everyone's mystified. But I'm sure the pressure inside that team has got to be intense.
Here's a comparison of Kenny Brack's season opening 2001 compared with where he stands after 11 races in 2002. 3 wins last year, en route to 4 for the season. None whatsoever this year. Let's take a look at what has plagued him thus far this year. At Portland, one of the first road courses of the year, left rear wheel came off while contending for victory. On the oval track at Chicago, a collision with Jimmy Vasser, both cars hard into the wall. Once again, Jimmy Vasser, this time at Vancouver on the street circuit. Thought he was going to get around Vasser, who spun, wasn't able to. Damage to the right rear, and he was done. Now, yesterday, as I mentioned before the break, Kenny Brack was quickest in the morning session, but in the afternoon, he wound up 13th on the provisional grid. Let's learn more now with Derek Daly.
Thank you, Bob. As you watch the huge blow up at Tony Kanaan, again, bad luck for Kanaan, but with Chip Ganassi here. Chip, over the years recently, you've had a remarkable success rate with picking new drivers, bringing them to the series, and just having phenomenal success. Kenny was brought in to do exactly that, and it just hasn't clicked. Chip, do you know why? Can you put your finger on why it hasn't clicked yet?
Well, you know, Derek, there's a lot in this business of, certainly a lot of high expectation. I think it was a year ago this weekend that we announced Kenny, was probably a year ago here at Elkhart Lake. And, there's a lot of high expectation. And, the fact of the matter is, in this business, you can have all the high expectation, you can have all of the track record, and you can have all the pieces of the puzzle in the right place. The fact of the matter is, you still have to, you have to put the tires on, you have to put the fuel in, you have to get through the first corner. There are a lot of fundamental issues. I think one of the successes of this team over the years has been we've done a lot of obvious things right. And if you stop doing those obvious things right, you're going to run into trouble in this formula.
Unfortunately, one of the obvious things now is a red flag because of that engine blow-up we saw Tony Kanaan have. Chip, when you have this situation, does it get to the point where you begin to sense a bit of frustration or pressure within the team that in fact can help a downward spiral?
I mean, unquestionably, that you start to look inward, and you may begin to question that. That's probably the mark of, over the years, that would be the mark of a good team. One team that doesn't get down, that you can still be introspective, and I think it's important to look at yourself and be able to assess exactly where you are as a team and where you are as a person within the team. And but at the same time, you still have to maintain your strength as a team, and I think that will ultimately tell the tale.
You expanded to 3 cars when you brought on Scott Dixon midway through the season. Chip, is there an argument that says that the focus shifted away from 2 cars? Maybe you try to do too much. Is that ever an argument that you think holds water?
I think it's certainly, in some instances, that can be a third car can obviously be a detriment. I mean, from my point of view, I think Scott's done a great job, and he's actually perked up the other 2 guys on the team, if you will. I think he's done a great job in terms of gathering up points and then brought in to do exactly what we brought him in to do, and that's that. He's been an otherwise bright light at times during the season, or since June 1st anyway, when we brought him on. He's been a bright light when the other 2 guys have been down, and I think he's kept them going. So in that sense, I think it outweighs that third car / distraction theory.
And as luck would have it, his best qualifying lap for Kenny yesterday was disallowed, which is another frustration.
I mean, it's just incredible, but it's part of the new rules package here in kart, and they take away your fast lap when you have these infractions, and that's part of the game these days, and it's the same for everybody.
Thank you, Chip. Chip Ganassi, obviously a man who's watching over a season here that is unusual for Chip Ganassi Racing because of the lack of superiority over many of the other teams.
All right, thanks very much, Derek. Now we turn to the story of Tony Kanaan. As Derek mentioned, Kanaan appeared to have an engine problem of some sort. That's the runoff at turn 5. Let's look, Tommy.
And this is that part where they've been screaming at top revs for a long time. That's right before the braking zone for turn 5.
Now, that was the car that he crashed yesterday. The sister car was the one he tried to qualify in yesterday. Never got a complete lap and was 18th in the field. He got in 3 full laps, make that 4 full laps. This was his 5th when he blew up. His best lap, 1 minute 45.151 seconds. Actually, his best lap was a 1:44 that would have put him 15th on the grid, being the first car out. But he loses that lap because that engine explosion brought out the red flag. Getting back to what Chip Ganassi was saying about them's the rules and everybody has to play by them. We'll take a break and hopefully return to green flag conditions at Road America. Looking ahead to next week, the name Gilles Villeneuve means the patron saint of Canadian racing drivers. Gilles had a son, that kid with his lip stuck out. His name was Jacques. Jacques, of course, was an Indy 500 and kart champion, now racing in Formula One. Next week, we will be at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal for the first time with the Champ cars on this Formula One circuit. And it's all live. Friday qualifying at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Kart Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern with Derek Daly. Saturday qualifying live at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And then the Grand Prix of Montreal, the inaugural race for the Champ cars at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, beginning with a pre-race show at 1:30 p.m. Eastern and the race at 2. And then the Toyota Atlantics, round 11 of 12. Will they crown the champion? If they do, you'll see it live beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only here on Speed Channel. And we are all looking forward to Montreal. There you see the cleanup continuing from an engine meltdown that put Tony Kanaan on the sidelines one more time. Once again, that was the car he crashed yesterday. Question is, will he have a backup to get out in, considering how recalcitrant that mount was in yesterday's first round of qualifying? Let's get more from Calvin.
Well, just to clarify the situation, the car that had the rear wing issue yesterday is the car that just blew up in today's qualifying session. They've rolled the backup car out. Now, remember yesterday, this car would not run, and they tried it again in this morning's practice session, similar issues. So meanwhile, they're changing all the shocks and stuff over to this backup car to get the setup correct. But the main concern for the team right now is, will the engine run? Have they got rid of the boost problem they had yesterday?
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. As you see, a bit of a gray day at the moment. The cloud cover has come back, and the wind has been blowing strongly right down the front straightaway. Don't forget, Speed News comes your way Saturday and Sunday nights. Tonight, it's Speed News Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for 30 minutes with Dave Despain and Ralph Shaheen. Then on Sunday at 7, it's 30 minutes of Speed News NASCAR edition, followed by news from the rest of the motorsports world at 7:30. We'll be right back live. Welcome back to Road America. In just a moment, that guy's going to be able to see the pictures that you're looking at when he dials up Speed Channel on his dish, and boy, is he going to get a surprise when he does. Right now, let's get back to the pit lane. Derek Daly standing by. We're still under a red flag. Double D.
Thank you, Bob. To add some words to the pictures you saw earlier on, usually the Kart Sports Medicine Center is a no-go area. It's led by Don Andrews, but we saw Bud Tice, former athletic trainer for the Buffalo Bills, working on this man here, Adrian Fernandez. Too many Adrians in this business. Adrian, you may be the bravest man here this weekend, because it is quite remarkable. The pictures that we saw of your injuries after the crash in Vancouver were just remarkable, and the pain you went through, yet you're here. And yesterday, Adrian, to put in 4th fastest time was quite remarkable.
It was very good effort. I have to thank all the people who has helped me in the recovery, and the car has been working really well, and that has helped me a lot. Today I feel obviously more sore than yesterday, and every time I go through the curbs and I hit, you know, the chassis hits the bottom of the curbs, it really hurts the part of the fracture. So that's the only uncomfortable thing, and jumping on the car and jumping out is also a little bit uncomfortable, but once I'm on the race car, it's not too bad.
So Adrian, do you change the seating position in the car per session to try and make it physically more comfortable?
It's the same seat. It's basically, I have they call some special paddings here, and you know, like a strap here to hold up my back and the injury, and try to keep everything more in place. So sometimes I try to, you know, lift my butt with the left cheek on the curve coming out into the last corner, but you know, we forget that we are very tight.
Thank you, Adrian. He said to me earlier on, if it had known his butt cheeks were going to get so much coverage, he would have put a Tecate sticker on it. Scott Pruitt.
That's a good one. Down here with Cristiano Demano, current pole sitter, looking on and kind of see what's happening. You guys are really in the catbird seat right now. Looks like the track conditions may be a little slower than yesterday. How are you going to play your strategy, and when are you guys going to go out?
Well, we are firstly just watching everybody's time to see really if the track's slower or if it's quicker than yesterday. This morning it didn't seem too bad to me, but when we went back and we looked at the Formula Atlantic times, they were a little bit slower. Actually, average more or less a second slower than they were yesterday. So we're still maybe trying to see whatever somebody else is going to do and see if it's going to be quicker or slower. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit faster, especially through second set of tires. I think it's going to be a little faster. Maybe not on the first one, but on the second one, I think we're going to be pretty close.
Well, best of luck for today. These guys sitting here waiting to see what's going to happen with the track conditions. The other thing interesting, guys, Patrick, another guy's had major problems with his car. Actually just stopped on a track yesterday, had problems this morning. Their plan, which he just came in, was to go out and run that car just a few laps, see if it was okay. If it wasn't good, he's going to get in his backup car. And if that's not okay, he's going to get into his teammate's car to see if he can at least get a couple good laps here in qualifying. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Scott. In fact, Patrick Carpentier has officially logged one of his 15 allowable timed laps.
Reading between the lines on what Cristiano said, if they're pretty sure the track is not quicker, I think you might, for the first time, see someone forego the shot at that point to keep an extra set of stickers. So, and going back to Adrian Fernandez there, I don't know, am I the only one who got scared when he started to, you know, look at that padding? I thought he was going to drop trow again. Yes. I'm glad he's back in the car.
The most famous butt in motorsports right now. And certainly the most observed. Speaking of which, we'll take a break. There's Mario Dominguez. He's had one big one already today. Let's see what happens when we come back. Speed Channel coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by Bridgestone, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Porsche, what only a Porsche brings to driving. Welcome back to Road America. We are back under green, coming up on 32 minutes to go in this 60-minute session. We expect cars on track shortly. Don't try this at home, kids. I am a trained professional. The Bridgestone tire engineers and tire mounters have been working extra this weekend. In fact, Bridgestone brought in extra representations of their Potenza racing radials from Akron, Ohio, because the teams are being given an extra set of slicks this weekend. 8 dry weather sets in all, because of the length of Sunday's race. Now, earlier today, this was Mario Dominguez down in turn 14, got off on the outside of the corner. You see him raise his hands off the steering wheel in order to preserve them when the front end goes into that tire wall.
And you saw the Hans device limit his forward head travel there in the slow-mo.
Let's get to Derek Daly.
Indeed, you're looking at Daryl Fox. He is the crew chief for the Herdez competition. They did yeoman service in the last couple of hours because following that monster crash by Mario Dominguez, they have grafted the back end of the car that was smashed this morning, and it is now bolted onto the back of the spare car that you now see him in. So great job here by the Herdez team to get this car ready. Calvin?
Well, Alex Tagliani is getting ready to go out, Derek, and very fast this morning. Tags, it seemed that you and Pat really like a different setup here at Elkhart.
Yeah, well, right off the trailer, the player's car was running very good on Friday. And yesterday, I think we would have, probably been third with the lap we had going. This morning, we did some change. The car was good, and hopefully this afternoon, everything will go our way, and we'll be able to move up.
These qualifying sessions are unbelievable. The timing of it all, getting the tire pressure up, getting a clean lap, being low on fuel. I mean, it's really a crapshoot out there.
I don't think nobody has the right strategy. I don't think it's any secret. You can plan a strategy like very in advance, and then somebody goes out like Tony and then blew an engine, and then you need to wait, and your strategy is gone. So you need to adapt, and I think it needs to be changed for the spectators, but for us, I don't think we're having a strategy this year yet.
TK, you have a question for Tags here?
Yeah, we showed that he was so quick through the traps yesterday. Did they put more downforce on this morning, or are they still just as quick through the traps but have picked it up elsewhere?
We're talking about the downforce versus drag situation. Yesterday, you were very fast in the trap speeds. Did you put more downforce on the car today to set the lap time?
No, we didn't change the downforce on the car. We just improved. Our main problem was understeer yesterday. We changed a couple of springs in the car. We adjusted it, and the downforce level from yesterday was pretty much the same. But today we might try something different. Hopefully it will work.
Okay, Tags, good luck. Meanwhile, Pat is out on track, and Carpentier has really complained about heavy understeer with Tagliani's setup. Tag really drives the car in hard under the brakes and gets rid of that understeer on the entry to the corners.
That's an interesting development for tomorrow, because if you have that much straight line advantage and you're still getting through the corners quickly, I think you'll see a lot of guys run less downforce tomorrow. But the fact that they were able to go that much quicker still in the low drag setup is pretty good news. Tony Sacali, his engineer, employed that to good effect. If you remember a few years back when Villeneuve won, I believe it was maybe his first race here, drafted on a restart up the front straightaway, had much better straightaway speed. So Tony Sacali up to his old tricks. Brow in the center of the carousel, and watch, sometimes the cars get a little loose right here. Not even a wiggle. Oh, there you go. Scott?
Well, Tommy, just like you're talking about, these guys are going to have one downforce setup on the car purely to go as fast as they can for one lap. For the race, it's going to be a different story. They're going to be looking at a couple different things. Fuel mileage, and how is the car going to race against the rest of the traffic. It used to be in days gone by, you put more downforce on to go racing. These days, I'm not quite sure. You just can't afford to give up that straightaway speed. But interesting to talk to these guys as they get ready for the race. A little different setup from qualifying to what they might change.
Oh, over that berm.
Be interesting to get Derek's thoughts on that also, to try to figure out, the setups kind of go in phases. And I think the tires, the Potenzas being so dead reliable, you might be able to get away with less downforce. Be interesting to see how things develop.
Patrick Carpentier comes around to complete his first true hot lap at 1:47.461. About a second and a half off of what Tony Kanaan did. We'll take a break. Lots of drivers headed for their race cars. We'll be back for more live coverage of qualifying from Road America. Welcome back to Road America. Last night, the annual all-comers karting enduro took place at the Kettle Karting Center here in town. Derek Daly, part of Team Talent. Scott Pruitt led off for us. Suffered motor problems when the motor basically fell off, but he got it put back together, and we were back on track. 11 teams in identical cars, powered by Briggs & Stratton's Animal Race engine. That's Scott Pruitt in the red helmet. Mimo Gidley, occasional kart FedEx Championship driver, starting from pole position. In all, over 1,100 laps of this fifth of a mile circuit were run without anybody getting hurt, which is probably pretty amazing. We had transponders. We got electronic timing and scoring. We were a happening bunch. And a great time was had by all. We finally got Team Talent kart back in action. World famous producer Greg Kekele taking over here from our own Derek Daly. While we were actually in the race, we were mighty strong. But in the end, the race was won by a team of kart officials, I'm sorry to say. Although I do understand that the results are under appeal.
With a big assist from Roberto Moreno.
Well, that's true.
Let's not lump him in with the kart officials.
Lump him into the ringer category. That was great fun, though. This is Michel Jourdain Jr., first driver since Al Unser Jr. back in 1992 to score points in the first 11 rounds of the season. Little Al went on to score in every round and won the championship. What an amazing season that would be for Jourdain in his 7th kart season.
We're starting to see a story develop. We talked about Cristiano maybe opting to save those 2 sets of sticker tires for tomorrow. Some of the other teams are discussing it on the radio. Paul Tracy said it looks like the track's slower. Why go out? Well, Chris Pook anticipated that early in the year. At the first race of the season, there was only 1 front row spot available, a point on each day. They quickly changed that, anticipating something like this more in the event of rain, but they added a front row spot. So I would think anybody who even has a prayer can't afford to not go out today. There's too much at stake with track position being what it is. You might see guys make 1 really solid run and maybe try to save 1 extra set of tires, but that front row spot can make or break an afternoon.
Climbing the hill to turn 6. Jourdain headed for Hurry Downs, down to turn 8 and the carousel. Currently the 3rd quickest man in the session of the 4 drivers who have posted times. Tony Kanaan remains the quickest despite blowing his engine on his 5th lap. If he can hang on, even though he is about 3 seconds slower than Cristiano Damata yesterday, he would win a championship bonus point and guaranteed front row spot on the grid for tomorrow's race. We're watching Bruno Junqueira in action. Calvin Fish has more on him.
Well, a big concern for these teams are brakes here, Bob. And I spoke to Ricky Davies yesterday, Bruno's chief mechanic, and he said we really have to watch out for what they call thermoshock with the rotor. They have a lot of cooling going on because of the long straightaways. Then, for example, down at Canada Corner, they're going from 200 miles an hour all the way down to 75 miles an hour. Because the rotor is essentially very cold at that point, it really builds temperature very quickly, but the temperature is built on the face of the rotor as opposed to the core, and they see a big difference there. Sometimes they're seeing about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the center of the rotor and up to 1,600 degrees here. This causes thermoshock. Ultimately, these rotors will crack, and that could be a big issue for the team, certainly, and the drivers, more importantly, out there on the racetrack. You see the temperature paint here. When they finish a run, this paint changes color at different temperatures. So this would be green through orange and up to red for when the rotor gets very hot. But it's the difference between the face of the rotor and the core that is causing problems here at Road America.
To clarify on the paints, each one kicks at a different color. So if you come in and the green one is turned white, that is one temperature. It might be 500 degrees. The orange might go off at 550. The red might be 600, something like, well, obviously it'd be more than that. See, even in Celsius. But so that's how they tune that. And the brake rotors are cooled 2 ways. One is actually through the inside, all those vents. They force air through the center of the hub. It comes out radially through the center of the disc. And then they also, some of the teams run a clamshell on the outside to cool cool the surface, and then some people add additional brake to the pistons and the calipers themselves. So in response to that, what the teams end up doing is they actually reduce the brake cooling, and so the brakes run a little bit higher temperature. As long as it's not at the boiling point, you don't have the difference in spikes between cool on the straightaway and hot when they get down to turn 5, 1, and 12.
Bruno Junqueira now the second quickest man of the session. Michel Jourdain Jr. has gone to the top of today's charts at 144.903, but that's a long way from Cristiano Damata's provisional pole at 142.640. There's Tony Kanaan's team working hard to get it back out there. Welcome back live to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, in the kart Grand Prix of Road America. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Scott Pruitt, and Calvin Fish with you. There is Adrian Fernandez stranded down in turn 5. Let's see what happened.
This is where they carry the brakes. Just got the rears locked, trying to get a little bit more speed off before he turned in. And looks like he has stalled. They haven't brought the red out yet. Obviously, he's hoping that they'll give him a push without going red.
Very close to the racing line, however. Kenny Brack has gone to the top of the charts, 143.909, still 1.3 seconds off of Cristiano Damata's provisional pole. Bruno Junqueira now
red
second.
Flag, red flag.
Now the red flag is coming out. Kart was hoping to clear the cars that were on track on hot laps. So for the second time, the red flag comes out, and that will cost Adrian Fernandez his best lap in the session.
This caused some discussion at Mid-Ohio. They wait as long as they can before bringing the red out. So some people get their laps finished, some people don't. People are starting to ask, well, why do some people get them and we don't? So they're trying to keep some people happy, but they don't make everyone happy, so they end up maybe being better off as soon as the incident comes out to throw it. It's hard to say. No matter what you do, you're probably not going to please everyone.
Remember, 15 laps allowed in the session with all the cars running together. To this point, the man who has completed the most laps is Patrick Carpentier with 8. Michel Jourdain Jr. has done 5, and a group of drivers have completed 4. Alex Tagliani has now gone to fast man of the session, 143.086, as you watch Michel Jourdain Jr. giving it everything and then some, hoping to get a quick lap. Jourdain is currently 16th on the grid.
And Tagliani going to P2, front row, is the first guy to go quicker than yesterday's time. So it's at least getting interesting. It's about 3.5, 4 tenths off what Damata ran yesterday, but almost 2 tenths or a tenth, just over a tenth quicker than he ran yesterday. So all those guys are monitoring this, saying, okay, it can be done. It's probably worth throwing the tires at it and going after it. Now time is becoming an issue because of the red flags.
That's right. The clock continues to tick under the red flag, coming up on 16 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in the session, and 2 drivers have yet to go out. Cristiano Damata, Adrian Fernandez had just gone out and had yet to log a hot lap before he spun off. Well, actually, he did get a lap, but then lost it to the red flag. You see the Team Cool Green working hard on their cars. Let's get to Scott.
I'm down here in Dario Franchitti's pit, and some sort of problem in the back of the car. They've been taking a close look. He said he hit the curb, and all of a sudden the handling went away. They do not know what is wrong. They are looking into it. As far as Paul Tracy is concerned, they're very disappointed the red flag came out at that point. They felt he was on a pretty good lap, and unfortunately that red flag messed him up. Bob?
All right, thank you, Scott. Good look there at the front left suspension on Dario Franchitti's Lola. Once again, we're under the red flag. Coming up on 15 minutes left in the session. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Road America as we continue with the final round of qualifying for the Kart Grand Prix of Road America. Cristiano Damata is the fast man on combined qualifying times. Damata has just gone out on track as we go back to the green flag. Damata has yet to log a hot lap. He is on one right now. There is Damata, a series high 5 pole positions this year, to go with his equally series high 5 victories, despite the fact that 6 different drivers have won races in the first 11 rounds of the championship this year. This is another track where D'Amata has not done particularly well. His best finish here at Road America, 6th back in 2001.
This is the part of the track where he's been making all of his hay, especially through the carousel. We saw the onboard with Carpentier, a little bit of oversteer, kind of two-thirds of the way around over by the curb. But on the onboard lap with Cristiano, you saw his hands were just rock solid all the way through there, carrying a little bit more downforce and making good use of it. Watch the back of the car. You go through the kink, the car goes away. The very edge, also, you're going fast. You think you're running out of road, and there's a little bit of a hump where the car hops over the crown. Very subtle, but when you're right on the limit, you feel it.
Calvin Fish has more on D'Amata.
Well, a quick update on Cristiano. I spoke to the team. They said everything seems fine. They only got one lap there before the red. But the key is, we're going to see him come through the timing line right now, is the balance of the car. They said we didn't put new tires on this morning. They have 8 precious sets of Bridgestones to use this weekend, so they really have to try and conserve them. Saved a set in practice this morning. But the key is keeping the balance. When you throw new tires on, it'll give you more grip. But you want to keep the balance of the race car when you've been setting it up on old tires, Tommy.
That's correct, and we should go to Scott on this. The balance, I would think, would shift more towards understeer with new tires. I mean, the pressures can affect that, but just from a pure grip standpoint, they help the rears out a little more than it helps the front. Is that true, Scott?
Well, guys, I'm going to actually fill you in on what's happening with Dario Franchitti. A left front suspension has failed. Now, don't forget, this is what happened with Target Ganassi at Vancouver. A lot of problem failing that left front. I don't know if this is a continual problem with Lola or just another freak occurrence. The other issue is with Fernandez. Fernandez having that spin. He called in the crew and said, hey, guys, that was my fault. It's a lot of excitement down here, and as we are speaking, Dario is now back on track and on his way.
And being very careful about that pit lane speed limit. We've had one violator flagged. That is Scott Dixon for going in excess of 50 miles an hour in the pit lane. I hasten to say, allegedly.
Allegedly. Dario's crew told him, you know, you're running out of time. You've got 9 minutes and 7 seconds to get it done. He said, I'll do it in 9 minutes 5.
Watching D'Amata, we want to clear up something else. We said earlier that Kenny Brack had a time taken away for being a little over aggressive at turn 14. What actually happened upon further review was that his onboard transponder did not record the lap, perhaps because he got way outside right there in turn 14 and actually missed the timing line. So he was not credited with what his team believes to have been his fast lap.
And that was a significant lap there by D'Amata. He went to the quickest of the session, which what that means is he gets the extra point, but it also means there's no front row spot awarded. So Tagliani, who'd been quickest in this session, about 5th quick overall, gets bumped from 2nd all the way back down to 5th with that lap by D'Amata.
And that would put Bruno Junqueira back on row 1 based on his performance yesterday at 1 minute 42.744 seconds. Now this is Patrick Carpentier. We've been following his story. Currently 16th and about 0.8 of a second off of his best lap from yesterday. Turn 8. This is the carousel. Now you get on the throttle as soon as you dare and head for the kink. Look at our top 10. The yellow arrow means that car is in the pits. You see the time remaining in the session. Less than 9 minutes. We're under the green flag. Let's get more on Alex Tagliani with Derek Daly.
Indeed, Bob. Confident mode here. Tagliani just got on his radio and said, I'm a tiny bit loose, but I believe the car can do it. Give me the new tires. That just bolted them on, and he's about to go out and see can he solidify at least that front row spot.
Thank you, Derek. You're watching Bruno Junqueira, currently 2nd on the provisional grid. Meanwhile, Patrick Carpentier is on his 11th lap and still remains mired outside the top 10.
Another good shot of when Bruno went through the kink, that little last-minute hop that I talked about, right on the exit. You're trying to size up whether you're going to be able to keep it on the road or not, and that's the only place when I used to go through that corner and you just nail it. I would actually scream inside the helmet. The exhilaration of doing the kink well, there's nothing like it.
Calvin Fish.
Well, interesting on this pit stop for Cristiano D'Amato. They put new rubber on here to get him his second run, and they connected a little watch, a stopwatch, counting down the time to his steering wheel. There you see it, 7 minutes 42 and counting. So Cristiano is now able to gauge the rest of this session. And as we know here, the key is to get over, get past the checkered flag line and get that extra lap in, just as he did yesterday. And much to Bruno's dismay, he took the pole position away. They're going to hope to do the same thing here. He's warmed up, looking for a clean run. Tim Caffin is ready to give him the go-ahead. And Cristiano D'Amato is going to see if he can maintain that pole position here this afternoon in Elkhart.
Change at the top of the charts. Paul Tracy has now gone to quickest in the session at 142.927, quicker than Cristiano D'Amato.
And D'Amato not only timed it perfectly, snatching it from Bruno, he had one full more other lap that he had in his back pocket that he didn't have to use yesterday when the session ended.
Paul Tracy moving into second means the pole sitter D'Amato does not have that position locked up. And that means that Bruno Junqueira, who is quicker than the lap Tracy just turned in, will move back onto the front row. Watch Bruno Junqueira. This is moments ago in turn one, getting well off on the exit, and look at the dirt.
And did you see the front tires give up? He started going out, he tried to keep his foot in it, and then just big time push out onto that extra piece of asphalt. When the asphalt ended, he was rodeoing it through the grass.
Once again, there's the top 10. Yellow arrow means that driver is in the pits. Riding with Dario Franchitti, currently fourth. And he just had a small off and on up at turn 6. Alex Tagliani down there in 7th. Remember, he was the quick man of the session at one point, had a front row spot, championship point locked up. Now it's gone, unless he can scramble his way back to the top of the chart.
This is where it gets good.
I think you're right, Tommy. You speculated that some guys would sacrifice laps in qualifying and potentially grid position to have those extra tires. At the moment, only Patrick Carpentier coming anywhere close to using his 15 laps. Here's another look at what happened to Franchitti.
That's up in turn 6, turns in. Ooh. The back started to get away, went back to the power, but just not enough lock to catch that slide.
Well, that's a bit more than a small off and on. One more look. Picked up a piece of debris that came off the front wing as he got sideways. You see Franchitti back at it now, under 5 minutes to go in the session.
Locked his left front right in there, getting into turn 5.
Scott Pruitt.
Paul Tracy was just in the pits. The car is great. They put on 4 brand new Potenzas and sent him on his way. Talk about a guy that has the potential to get this job done. He had a smoky burnout, currently P2. This is going to be the one of the guys to watch in these closing few minutes. Bob, coming.
And we've been talking like it's a foregone conclusion that fastest in the session will be front row, but Paul Tracy is within 3/10 of the pole position. So if he can get under Cristiano's time from yesterday and nobody can answer back, not only is it front row, it could be P1.
So Paul Tracy just went by Tony Kanaan, who's just coming up to speed. 7 drivers of the 18 have improved on their best qualifying performance from yesterday. Kanaan yet to record a time in that backup car. There, see Paul Tracy at P2. So Kanaan just coming up to speed at the final moments of the session. Let's see if he can hoist himself further up the grid.
Oh, and somebody got in Dario's way there when he was trying to finish his lap up.
There's Kanaan coming back in. Derek Daly.
Bob, Kanaan has left here with armfuls of opposite lock and wheel spin, and they've left it, gone onto the track. They have no idea whether this car will even run properly or not. They have a misfire. In fact, you can see him coming back in. There is a misfire that they thought was the fuel pressure. They still struggle to get this car running. Quick update on Kenny Brack. Wouldn't you know it, on his fastest lap on the first set of tires, the red flag came out. They put him on the second set here. They said this is the run that will allow no frustration or mild frustration for the rest of the weekend for Kenny Brack on the new set that he's on now, which is his last new set.
And Bruno's last lap actually was so this is an outlap. probably starting a quick lap here.
No yellow arrows. That means all of our top 10 drivers are on track. If you were with us yesterday, you know what that means. When the checkered flag waves, we are still not done around this 4-mile loop. Scott Pruitt.
Hey guys, thing to remember, as they started out, the track conditions were actually worse than yesterday. I've talked to a number of teams as they're running. The exact same things happening from today as it did yesterday. The track is getting better and better and better. As we're seeing at the times, they're coming down quicker and quicker and quicker. Man, strap in, hold on. This is going to be exciting right to the end. Calvin?
Well, the mood down here in Newman House, they're watching the monitors. They think they have a good car underneath Cristiano D'Amato. Remember, earlier in the session, he said to Scott, I believe the second set of tires will be quicker once we get some rubber down. So let's get down to Derek and see what the scene is there.
Tony, sorry. We feel your frustration here. What's the latest?
Well, I must have done something really bad for somebody because I don't think I deserve all this. And I don't take that as a bad luck anymore. I take that people are really not doing their job, but they have no idea what they're doing. I just told Morris we should pack and go home because 10 laps in 2 days, $250,000 in damage. I don't think it's worth it. I just think it's people really need to think about it because I'm giving my soul there, but without running any laps, it's going to be hard for qualifying.
Wow, not a single word needs to be said because I think he just said it all.
I agree, Derek. Very, very tough year for Tony Kanaan, who has yet to record a hot lap. After that blow-up, they withdrew the primary, got no laps in the backup car. Ooh, very side.
P1 for Bruno.
142.151, 6/10 up on Cristiano D'Amato from yesterday. Make that 5/10 up on D'Amato from yesterday. But D'Amato is not yet done as the seconds trickle away to the end of the session with all of our top 10 drivers on track.
And now Paul Tracy's at the exact same point as his run as when we picked up Bruno. Well, not exactly, but a few corners before. So Paul Tracy, same number of laps after on these new set of tires. See how he is on the top 10 when he crosses the line. Not a great drive out of 12.
Up the hill under the Billy Mitchell Bridge. This is turn 14, watching the clock. 142.927. Paul Tracy remains fourth. Only 3 drivers besides Tony Kanaan have yet to improve on yesterday. Cristiano D'Amato, Dario Franchitti, and Adrian Fernandez. There is D'Amato. Checkered flag waves, but he is on a hot lap. Down the hill to turn 3. Bruno Junqueira. He crosses the stripe.
Okay, last lap.
No improvement.
So he'll have one more shot at it, as will everybody in front of him. Cristiano, this is his last chance to try to bump back. Same thing with Paul Tracy, who are in the process of doing their final lap, even though the checker's out. They'll bomb it across 14 and then pit right then.
Patrick Carpentier pulls into the pit lane. 15 laps complete. He is 12th currently. Alex Tagliani into the pit lane. He is done. He is currently 3rd. Adrian Fernandez is in. Paul Tracy slowing. Behind him, Cristiano D'Amato is on the road. Looks like Oriol Servia coming up from behind.
Now Junqueira knows that D'Amato's trying to answer back, so Bruno started another flyer of his own. He's coming up on Nakano.
Nope, D'Amato slowed to a 150.440. Oh, more dirt on track.
So now D'Amato is behind Junqueira, so Junqueira will finish this lap in case the lap that Cristiano just started is better.
Oh! Ganassi is furious. There you see Bruno Junqueira.
Now what's going to happen here, Damana is going to be coming through here. The yellows will be out, but he's going to try to race through there.
Is that Shinji Nakano on the road ahead of Junqueira when he came off the corner?
Now, what Chip's upset about is if Damana can get through there, he has a chance to bump him off the pole if he's able to race through there without being slowed down.
I can't see how he's going to be able to do it. Chip is still in full lather. On board with Damana. This is out of the carousel, headed for the kink. He's got the length of the backstretch, and then it'll get him to Canada corner.
Now his crew will have told him exactly where the wreck is so that he can come through here at speed.
No, that has to have slowed him down. No, he bailed. And rightly so, with Bruno Junqueira's stationary car smack in the middle of the track. Let's take another look at what happened to Bruno Junqueira.
And this is where he was really digging. Nakano loses it in front of him.
Well, it's hard to fault Nakano for coming back on track. He got his left side wheels off. Here's Chip Ganassi's reaction, watching the same pictures you did. A most unhappy fellow. There is Junqueira. He is a bit agitated as well as he talks with the Simple Green Kart safety crew. We'll take a break and return to Road America. Welcome back live to Road America. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Scott Pruitt, and Calvin Fish with you. Qualifying is now complete, but not without an accident involving Bruno Junqueira, who is in the front seat of that truck making his way back to the pit area. Derek Daly is standing by with his car owner, Chip Ganassi.
Who was very, very hot under the collar when you saw Bruno hit the wall there. But Chip, your concern was that maybe your driver might lose that lap?
Well, my concern was we would lose the lap, and my concern was if they thought we caused a red, and but fortunately our second fastest lap was also faster than the pole time. So that was good too.
But Chip, according to your telemetry, that lap was actually faster than the pole time.
It was, and which would have been we were 3 laps faster than the pole time then. So had we had one taken away, it wouldn't have been a problem.
I think you broke the headphones. You got to pay for those.
I think so.
Calvin.
Well, let's get the mood down here at Newman House. Rocky, have a quick word with you, mate. I know you're very frustrated. You're upset about the situation there that Cristiano had a flyer in his bag too and unable to show it because of the situation with Bruno and no red flag.
Yeah, it's obviously an awkward situation at Elkhart because we know that we always get the last time in, although we pass the checkered. So we bank on that to get the maximum of the car. I guess the flip side of the coin for that is that because the checkered is out, Junqueira can create a big accident, block the track, and not cause a red because officially the session is over. So I guess we're pretty frustrated, obviously, because we think we could have done as good as Junqueira. But I guess it's the track the way it is, and stuff like didn't help us today, that's all.
Well, it should be a fascinating battle tomorrow. I think Chip has a very good argument by saying that Bruno's second fastest lap would keep him on the pole, so I think that's a good one there. Derek?
Here's a time of celebration. Bruno, I know the first question you asked your crew chief was, did the time stand?
Yeah, that was the first time. I knew that I had another good lap, but you know, it wasn't my fault. Nakano went out of the track. I wasn't a flyer lap, even 3/10 faster. And then just came the car in front of me, and I went inside and crashed. The car is not damaged. I'm really happy to be on the pole because I deserve it.
Bruno, it was a great lap, but did you know that the lap that you went off on was actually faster than your pole lap?
Yeah, it was 3/10 faster, much faster because I had the splits on the car. And that was the really flying lap, but Nakano spun, but luckily the other lap was enough to get on the pole.
But you know what? It doesn't matter. You're on the pole.
And that pole is the third of Bruno Junqueira's career. Remember, he is the defending race champion here at Elkhart Lake. And there's the car that Bruno doesn't think is damaged.
The pole-setting car.
A look from his onboard camera. That's Shinji Nakano off and on ahead of him. And kind of the same thing that happened to Jimmy Vasser at the end of yesterday's session.
Yeah, obviously caused by different things, but that's the point where the track gets slick anyways. The traction control, we've been hearing it kicking in. He tried to keep his foot in the gas right as Nakano was easing it back on. and then at the last second, when you lift out of the gas, it transfers weight to the front and pivots around.
Here's a look at our top 10 qualifiers. Bruno Junqueira will start alongside Cristiano Damata on the front row for tomorrow's Grand Prix of Road America, followed by Alex Tagliani and Paul Tracy. We'll be right back. Welcome back live at Road America. Bruno Junqueira, left of your screen in red, has just finished waving the flag that's distributed to each pole sitter on every Kart FedEx Championship Series weekend. Let's talk about the second row right now. Alex Tagliani will start E3. He's with Calvin Fish.
Alex, a great run. The weekend has been very smooth for you thus far. I'm sure you're hoping for great things tomorrow in the race.
Yeah, the players team gave me a very good car right away on Friday. We worked our way up, and yesterday we thought we had a car to be third, and today we proved it. So you know, hopefully it's similar start in 2000, third, but hopefully we'll go up to the end and you know, finish on the podium or even win.
Any chance of a faster lap out there? 42.6 was your best lap. Do you think you had another half second to take Bruno off the pole?
Half second would have been very, very difficult. You know, we had probably another 2/10, but half second, you know, I need to give him, he did a very good lap there. So, you know, that strategy worked very good for the players team this afternoon. It was just like a question of making sure that you had your lap in when the session was over.
Great job, Tags.
Thanks.
Let's go down to Scott with the gentleman who will be joining Tags on the second row tomorrow.
Driver Paul Tracy. Paul, a mighty run. Thought you had a little bit more, but problems right at the end, running out of fuel?
Yeah, we just we had to rush. We got started a little bit later than we wanted to because the track was a little bit green, and we had to rush. We came in, I did my full allotment of laps the first run that we wanted to do and had a pretty good time. And then the second run, when I came in, we had to really rush to get the fuel in it to get back out with only 6 minutes. So we didn't get enough fuel in the car, and I was running a pretty good lap, and then I didn't have enough fuel to get it around. So I didn't want to stop on the track out of fuel and lose my time. So.
Now looking forward to tomorrow. And in fact, it's been kind of an up and down weekend for you so far. The practice sessions, it seems like you've actually struggled, but it's really come together in qualifying. Now as you look forward to the race, what sort of changes will you make in the car, and how do you see the race playing out?
Well, yesterday we had a problem in the morning, and we didn't really run the whole morning. And then in the afternoon, we had a pretty good car in qualifying, but I just didn't get the lap right. And I came in and finished our laps. I was fourth, and by the time we got finished, the session was over, we were eighth. So this morning, the car was good. I made a mistake and went off and took a corner off, and then, you know, so we really didn't get a lot of chance to make a lot of changes on the car, but the car's been good.
Now, Elkhart Lake is always one of those tracks where turn one can be a little treacherous. Nice to be at the front?
It is. I mean, we'd like to be one more row up, but starting fourth is a good spot. You know, we just try to settle in and see if we can get a good podium finish.
Well, good luck for tomorrow. Paul Tracy, certainly one of those guys, has a lot of excitement, and looking forward to a great race tomorrow. Guys?
The longest race these guys have run here at Road America, 60 laps of this 4-mile circuit. Bruno Junqueira's third career pole moves him into a tie for second in poles this season. Pole led by Cristiano Damata. We'll be back.
Formula One lives on speed. The cars, works of art and marvels of engineering. The drivers, superstars, and rocket men. From Australia to Brazil, Canada to Malaysia.
Checkered flag is out.
Speed Channel takes you around the world with live coverage of Formula One. The beauty of man and machine. The thrill of open-wheel battle. Formula One, the Hungarian Grand Prix live, Sunday at 7:30 only on Speed.
Speed Channel's coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by Toyota. Get the feeling. By Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Welcome back to Road America. I know we're running a little long. American Muscle Cars coming up next here on Speed Channel. Right now, let's get final thoughts about tomorrow's race. Up first, Calvin Fish.
Well, I think, Bob, coming into the last couple of races, everyone thought if Cristiano Damata didn't break, he would always be the man. He always seemed to have that edge. But at Mid-Ohio, we saw Patrick Carpentier challenge him, took the win, and here we're seeing a number of other drivers nipping at his heels. What do you think, Derek Daly?
It's going to be interesting to see. We see Are you kidding me? This is more of the same thing. A lot of excitement in this qualifying session. Now the race. The outlook of the race has changed. They have to make their pit stops by 14. The strategies will be different. The length race is longer. So going into that race tomorrow, all these teams are going to be playing things maybe just a slight different piece. Derek, what do you think?
Well, think about it. The last 4 laps of qualifying might be a prelude to what we could well see tomorrow. In the last 20 years, we've had 6 first-time winners here. Does that mean tomorrow's turn might be tags?
Good question, Derek. Thanks, Calvin. Scott Pruitt, Derek Daly, Tommy Kendall. Your thoughts as we take a look at our starting lineup for tomorrow's Grand Prix of Road America.
Well, Bruno and Cristiano have kind of gone at it all year. They've both shown speed on both kinds of tracks, kind of really setting up the stretch run for the championship. And the kind of emotion that Bruno's been showing the last few weeks shows me he does not think this championship is even close to over. So I expect the guys that are the main protagonists to be going at it tomorrow.
One name you did not see on that list, Tony Kanaan, who did not get in a lap worth talking about, but he will start 18th and last. Tomorrow, the Trans Am race for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup from Road America is coming your way at 12 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Toyota Atlantic Championship Series race at 1:30 Eastern Time. Then the Grand Prix of Road America live here on Speed Channel. Our pre-race show beginning at 2:30, the race itself at 3. 6 of 20 races here at Road America have been won from pole, but it's been a long time since the last man to do it. That was Jacques Villeneuve back in 1995. For Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Scott Pruitt, and Calvin Fish, I'm Bob Barsha. We'll see you tomorrow here on Speed Channel for the CART Grand Prix of Road America. Until then, so long from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.